Teşekkür ederim. Thank you for your kind introduction. I need to adjust the microphone. I'm a bit short, too short. And maybe my hair is getting transparent also, like somebody, previous speakers. I would like to express my gratitude to SteelOrbis for inviting me to speak at New Horizons in the steel markets in the year the Republic of Turkey celebrates its centennial. It is a great honor and a privilege for me to attend this conference, especially in such an auspicious year. I look forward to gaining new insight into the environment surrounding our industry in your country, Turkey, and other parts of the world. Today, I would like to start with a global overview, then talk about the recent developments in East Asia, China, Korea, and Japan, and the opportunities and challenges. Since you listen to the speakers on the high level, maybe some information about the company, JF Steel, will be of some interest to you. We are trying to do what we are trying to do in the age of transformation. Oops. Okay. As Dr. Barris Bey already presented a comprehensive view of the global economy, I will not dwell on this topic too much. Our global economy is weighed down by central banks raising interest rates to cope with inflation. Despite the impact of geopolitical factors such as war on the conflict, moderate growth continues. However, growth is expected to slow slightly in 2024. According to this data comes from IMF, the world economy grew 3.0% in 2023 and will increase 2.9% next year. But these rates are below the historical levels. China's economy, I think that is one of your main interests today, has been slow since mid-year, shows some signs of picking up, but real estate continues to suffer. Its economy lacks strength. India continues to grow strongly. In ASEAN, growth is expected to continue, particularly in their domestic demands. The US economy has been more robust than expected in the first half of this year. About Europe, I will leave this part to Alessandro, our fellow speaker. Sorry. It's not. Okay. Yes. About the steel demand has been feeling the impact of high inflation, high interest rates also. Since the second half of last year, the activities of steel-using sectors have been cooling sharply in most regions as investment and consumption do weaken. The situation has continued through 2023, particularly in the EU and the US. Considering the delayed effects of the monetary tightening policies, steel demand recovery 2024 is expected to be slow in developed economies. Performance of emerging economies continue to diverge. Turkey marks substantial recovery. India and ASEAN continue to show resilience. According to World Steel, global steel demand is forecast to increase 1.8% to 1.81 billion tons. This slide is the one from the World Steel. Dr. Barris mentioned this. I just want to be very brief. Emerging economies such as Turkey, India, Brazil, China, steel use has returned to or surpassed 2019 levels, while in developed economies, Germany, US, and Japan are still on its way to the pre-pandemic level. So let's talk about the developments in East Asia. First, China. Chinese GDP is forecast to grow by more than 5% this year. The fixed asset investment growth rate has been positive, but it is decreasing moderately. Real estate investment growth has been a negative zone since second quarter of 2022. The situation is weighing on the economy. Retail sales and passenger traffic have been increasing since the beginning of this year. Export has been on the decrease since May this year. Steel demand this year is forecast to record 2.0% growth, supported by infrastructure investments and stabilization in the property sector. But the outlook for next year is uncertain. Real estate market and exports will continue to weigh on the steel demand. And in 2024, with additional government measures, steel demand may be sustained at the level of this year. More about crude steel production. What is noteworthy is China's export. Its export in the first 9 months this year increased substantially by 35.2%, which means it is nearing the levels of 2015 or 16 on an annualized basis. Next, South Korea. South Korea GDP growth moderately. Exports are decreasing because of lackluster markets for petroleum products and services. Auto production is growing moderately. Construction investment is increasing. New ship deliveries are expected to recover this year on the back of increased orders in 2021. Steel demand is expected to increase 3.3% to 53 million tons in 2023, with the recovery from flood damage and improvement of the manufacturing sector. So let's turn to developments in Japan. GDP is forecast to increase 1.8% in fiscal 2023. Real GDP and nominal GDP are forecast to reach historical levels. Business sentiment in the automotive sector is recovering. As supply chain constraints have eased, the service sector is improving significantly. When we look at the auto sales, the recovery of auto production is evident. Machinery recovered after the pandemic, but we have been seeing slower months. Both housing and non-residential construction starts have been not strong because of increased construction costs and the shortage of workers. Public and private civil construction are more or less at the same level. Japan's steel demand is forecast to decrease 2% this year to 53.9 million tons and increase 0.6% to 54.2 million tons next year. I have attended several steel conferences like this prestigious event organized by SteelOrbis and the World Steel Meetings. I've been thinking how to best describe the steel industry in Japan using a single keyword. I came up GREEN, the green. G stands for green transformation, R is for responsible, E is for enhancing technology, aiming to further develop and improve technology. E is for economically viable, building on a solid business and revenue base and fulfilling responsibility to stakeholders. And eventually, we aim to achieve N, net zero and carbon neutral. About JFE Group, JFE Steel was established by merger of NKK, Nippon Kokan, and Kawasaki Steel 20 years ago. When we chose the name, we decided not to use the names of the predecessor companies to create the new corporate identity and corporate culture. J stands for Japan, F stands for FE, which is a chemical element, E is for engineering. And so some other people say JFE stands for Japan Future Enterprises. But we have the salespeople jokingly says JFE stands for Japanese Funny Entertainers. I hope trying to be one of them today. So JFE Steel has a parent company, JFE Holdings, which is listed in Tokyo Stock Exchange, has the operating companies JFE Steel, JFE Engineering, JFE Shoji, which is a trading company, and Japan Marine United, which is the shipbuilding company in Japan. So in terms of the contribution to the sales, JFE Steel is the largest of all the operating companies. Just for your information, and we have been a part of development of your country some way or another. A former company, NKK, built the second Bosphorus Bridge. I cannot pronounce it correctly, Fatih Sultan Muhammad Bridge in 1988, 35 years ago. So that shows we have, closely worked together in the past, and we would like to do so in the future as well. So a little bit more information, quick overview of our company. We produced about 26 million tons on a consolidated basis last year. And on a standalone basis, we produce about 24 million tons. More than 80% of products are flats. The rest are longs, tubulars, and semi-finished products. About our production systems, we have several steel operations. I hope this is Mr. Murat is giving me a signal. Time is running out. So we have the, basically two integrated operations. West Japan Works. We have currently 6 blast furnaces. One of them is coming to end of its campaign very soon. And eastern part, we had 2 blast furnaces. We closed one of them this September. We have electric arc furnace at Sendai and pipe operations in Chita. So this is our strategy. I'm not going to read them all. Please, feel assured. Let me start with the global growth strategies. Regarding this strategy, this diagram illustrates our network of global alliances. We are stepping up our efforts to produce and promote and strengthen our global growth strategies by providing solutions based on knowledge, skills, and data to our own businesses and to our partners. By doing so, we expect to expand our overseas businesses' contributions to our bottom line. Our strategy is we are committed to grow with our customers globally. Next item is the digital technology. I'm not a data scientist, so I'll be very brief talking about this. This is about the intelligent steelworks based on cyber physical system, CPS. We are currently in the process of implementing CPS concept across all our production processes. Huge amount of the data and know-how are uploaded to the cyberspace and used for analysis and determining optimal operations. In this way, intelligent steelworks are capable of learning and autonomously carrying out optimal operations. We do have a condition monitoring system for hot strip mill. This is one of the approaches. This system can achieve comprehensive detection of abnormal signs using real-time analysis of big data. The degree of deviation from the normal value is indexed as degree of abnormality so that our operators can detect abnormalities at an early stage and issue instructions for investigation and repair. This capability helps prevent major failures. Blast furnaces, we implemented CPS into all of our operations. This system determines internal state of virtual blast furnace with using actual data, proposes optimal operation guidance for virtual blast furnace, and implements it in actual blast furnace operations. At present, blast furnace conditions can be predicted up to 12 hours in advance. We're improving the accuracy, predicting accuracy. So lastly, this one is about innovation for carbon neutrality. I have to admit this is a very, very busy chart, but just want to mention the important points. JFE Steel plans to reduce CO2 emissions by 30% or more by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. Our strategy is to utilize our blast furnaces as much as possible. At the same time, develop innovative technologies. We call our strategy multiple track approach, and we focus on carbon recycling, blast furnace and CCU, carbon capture and utilization, direct reduction steelmaking, maximizing the utilization of leading electric arc furnace technology. So these are the projects we have been working on. For carbon recycling, blast furnace, we are working on the process for converting CO2 byproduct into methane as a reductant. We are also developing a process using hydrogen for direct reduction steelmaking and process for producing high-quality steel with EAFs by efficiently melting scrap and reduced iron and by removing impurities. So to secure the metallics for an EAF, blast furnaces and converters, and we are studying the feasibility of building a DRI plant in the UAE with the Emirates Steel Alcam and Itochu, a trading company in Japan. The same slide again. About the timeline, we plan to build a large EAF to replace one of our blast furnaces. Its campaign comes to end in 2027, assuming some support from the government. From 2030 onwards, we will decide which process transformation we will undertake, considering the readiness of infrastructure for steady supply of hydrogen and electricity in sufficient volumes at affordable prices, and the demand for green steel. This is the last slide. If you have any questions about digital transformation and the green transformation, please come to me or email me. I try to have our experts answer your questions. Thank you for your attention and the opportunity to share my views. Teşekkür ederim.
Arigatou gozaimasu, Fujisawa-san.
Wow.
Are there any questions for Fujisawa-san from the floor? I cannot see any questions. But digital technology use of, we have actually been talking about the use of digital technology in steel industry during the break, and it was good. Very helpful to hear JFE's plans about it. Obviously, the carbon zero net carbon developments. I have one quick question for you, if you don't mind.
Please.
We understand JFE's plans, but in general, how is the situation in Japan? I mean, is there a macro plan? Is there any plan developed by the Japanese government for the steel industry about the Green Deal?
Thank you very much for another penetrating question. So the journey toward the carbon neutrality is quite challenging, and 70% of the steel are being produced by blast furnace and converters in Japan. And we managed to optimize the steel production, building the large blast furnaces along the coastline, taking advantage of the raw materials on the international market, and also good access to the export as well. But this green transformation challenges is a big challenge for us. So single company cannot solve the situations, and even developing the technology, we formed a consortium with the steel companies with the help of support from the Japanese government. And the Japanese government is also, introducing sort of the transition bonds and the special mechanism enable us to, develop on the technologies and technology-wise and also in the financial scale. So we are working. These projects, I have introduced 3 projects. These projects are actually carried out by the consortium, the Japanese companies, JFE, Nippon Steel, and the Kobe Steel, and some of the companies. So each company will take a lead when it comes to the carbon recycling blast furnace, and our company is taking a lead. And within the consortium members, and we try to share the information as much as possible. So just talking about the green challenge and, the Europe and also your country also, and the United States, and the more EAF productions. So because of, say, the metallics uses for the production route and EAF, Americans say much greener and much cleaner. But the thing is, in terms of the metallics, scrap is limited, and also so currently 1.9 billion tons of steel being produced in the world, and the scrap-wise 600 million tons of scrap is available. And that is not going to change dramatically. So there's going to be the blast furnaces and the years to come. So we understand the recycled blast furnace cannot achieve the carbon neutrality by itself, but we are aiming to reduce 50% of carbon steel reduction. And thinking about the fact the 1 billion tons of being produced blast furnace route, and China and India are the dominant, large steel producers. Their blast furnaces are relatively new. So it's difficult for them to change their production route when their blast furnaces are still in the young stage. So reducing CO2 emissions with the blast furnaces will be quite helpful. And we understand cannot achieve the carbon neutral instantly, but that will help, situations globally.
Thank you very much. We have one question here. Can we have the microphone? Yes, Mr. Dalbele.
Fujisawa-san, arigato. My question is about completing what Murat have just asked. What do you think about the overall impact of this Green Deal in Japanese steel industry, considering that 1/3 is depending on the export? Japan exports approximately 35 million tons a year. And the other question, of course, on the competitiveness as well. Don't you think that you might have another front for Americans or the Europeans start attacking you on the subsidy remedies in case of all this state help that you might receive on this Green Deal roadmap?
Well, I hope you will not share the information with the European and American counterparts. That would be the quickest solution. So the amount of subsidies support the government of Japan is, planning to give us is not so big compared to the Europeans and American counterparts. And we understand the subsidies the EU is providing to the European players, and what the Americans are receiving, and they are talking each other, but in a very nicely, but they couldn't find the middle ground. And Ms. Dalbert, that is a very challenging question, but I don't have a good answer. But what we can say is so with the single company cannot embark on the long journey toward the carbon neutrality. So some way or another, say, ideally speaking, if the green hydrogen is there at the low cost, that is ideal. But we don't have infrastructure in Japan yet. And also, we don't have so many renewables. We don't have so many natural resources. So they have to bring from other parts of the world, or even the solar panel. So the area of the solar panels Japan has is the more, what shall I say, intense than the counterpart in Germany. So because we don't have flat lands, we install the solar panels. So we don't have so much to do, and we need some assistance from the governments for them to just build the infrastructure for the transformation. So honestly speaking, what we can do is what they are trying to provide to us is not so, well, not a small amount, but not that the magnitude, and we need to do the transformation, and we continue to differentiate products. And so when it comes to the export, I'm not quite certain what is going to be the export level for Japan, because we are, as I said, we closed the one blast furnace, and so that will be about between 2 or 3 million tons less. So our export will be less. Well, we understand the Japanese economies, steel demand is not so growing because of the aging population and so forth, but still our export will be less. But we understand that will not solve the issue instantly, but we may be able to find some new equilibrium. I hope I answered some of your questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Fujisawa-san from the floor? I think that's all.
Thank you very much.
Fujisawa-san.
Yes, thank you.